Okay, so I absolutely love living in Hickory, North Carolina, and right here in Hickory. I don't really care about, well, that's not true. Certainly, I don't care about going to all these other places, but when you live in Hickory, you have this great access to all this other stuff. And I just kind of want to give you an idea of what it feels like to move around the Hickory, North Carolina. So I was born and raised right here close to Hickory, North Carolina, in a little town called Conley Springs, just 10 minutes outside of Hickory. My wife and I got married and we moved to Asheville, North Carolina. Asheville is about an hour. When people ask me where Hickory is, I like to say we're an hour from Asheville and an hour from Charlotte. And that's true. An hour west goes to Asheville, an hour east goes to Charlotte. Now, it's not exactly east and west, but you get the idea, right? Okay, so my wife and I, when we first got married, we moved to Asheville, North Carolina. My grandmother was kind enough to let us live in a this tiny little house that was right in downtown Hickory, and and it was great. It was such a blessing to us. We paid taxes and insurance, and we did a little bit of fixing up to the house. But years later, it really didn't feel like fixing it up. You know what I mean? Okay, so what's it like to live in Asheville? Asheville, in my mind, the things that come to my mind are hippies and witches. Now, listen, that sounds terrible, but that's kind of the vibe I get. I think about Asheville being, you run across a lot of people that don't believe in deodorant, and you find a lot of people that their hair is kind of natural. They have that natural feel to their hair, so I kind of feel like they're hippies. And then there's these big events that are all about witches and I don't think that these are bad witches or negative witches. You say, Josh, aren't all witches bad? I don't think so. But anyway, there's witches events and there's lots of hippies. And so Asheville is about an hour to the west, and it's kind of got that vibe. You also think about Asheville, you think about the Hickory Nut Gorge, where the last of the Mohicans jump took place. I lived out in that area when I was in college, right out of high school, and we saw this waterfall from a distance and we decided we were going to hike to it. We didn't know that and you know what? Now that I look at it, that doesn't look like the exact right waterfall in that picture. But anyway, you get the idea. Hickory Nut Gorge, Hickory Nut Falls, where the last of the Mohicans was filmed. And you think about the Biltmore Estate. That's that beautiful big mansion that was built in a race by a millionaire. I don't know. I guess it was a millionaire back then. Who knows what? But it's a place you should visit. You should go to Asheville, North Carolina. But you'll see lots of people talk about Asheville as not a great place to live. I mean, that little house that my wife and I lived in, it sold for a fortune. I mean, it Asheville's got a higher cost of living, and it's got its unique vibe. Okay, then you come to Hickory, North Carolina. So from Asheville, I jumped all the way to Hickory, and I passed places like Morganton and Drexel and Valdese and Hildebran and Eichard. I grew up and went to Eichard Elementary School when I was a kid, and honestly, as I drive from Asheville to Hickory, I think about, this is the direction you go in the fall when you want to see the leaves. This is the direction you go in the winter when you want to go and stay in a cabin. Maybe you go up towards Boone or you go towards Asheville. But I just kind of passed through that area of my life that is Morganton, Drexel, Valdese, Eichard, Hildebran, that whole world. But my kids went to school in the East Burke area. Um, and there's a lot of great things about that area. It's just about 15, 20 minutes west of Hickory. Then you come to Hickory, North Carolina, and you see lots of videos from me talking about Hickory. You can visit the other channel. It's 360 Hickory, and I go around with a 360 camera and I do lots of restaurant reviews. I do lots of reviews about things that are taking place in Hickory, North Carolina. And so go to that channel. You can use your camera to look all around. Now, this video is static. It's just regular video. But in the 360 Hickory video, YouTube channel, you can see all over Hickory. And this video is really talking about where you can go from Hickory east and west. When you leave Hickory and you start going west, the first thing I think about is Maiden and this little town that won the state championship in 1978 in football. It's a little football town. They think and talk and breathe football, football, football. There's a few families that have been a part of that football community. I've got in-law, my mother and father-in-law live in Maiden. Maiden has it's got a it's got a little town vibe. It's very focused on football. Of course, there's other things. There's lots of faith and religion in the Maiden area, and that's kind of Maiden, North Carolina. As you continue west, I'm sorry, as you continue east, you get to a little town called Pumpkin Center. Now, Pumpkin Center it's a little non-incorporated town, tiny little town in Lincoln County. Lincolnton is the city seat of Lincolnton County, and or of Lincoln County. Lincolnton is the city in Lincoln County, and that whole Lincolnton, there's been a Lincolnton Maiden football rivalry for years, and Lincolnton is bigger than Maiden, but it's smaller than Charlotte. And honestly, when I think of Lincolnton, I really think of it's a commuter community for Mecklenburg County towards Charlotte area. And as you move farther towards the east, like you're going towards the airport, now you're getting really close to the airport. This is another not incorporated town that is, so you don't vote in the Lincolnton city elections. You're just a part of Lincoln County in Iron Station, North Carolina, but it's a great little place if you want to live outside of Mecklenburg County. You want to live in uh, a rural area where you can have lots of land, but you can also jump on the road and get to Charlotte really quickly because that's what's coming is you're moving towards. Now, what's kind of interesting, I was in McAdenville. McAdenville is kind of between Pumpkin Center, then Iron Station, and then you go through McAdenville and Cramerton, Gastonia area. You go through all of that as you're moving towards the Charlotte direction. McAdenville is this little town that, in my mind, it's always historically been a place where you go to see the Christmas lights. This place gets just lit up at Christmas, and people come from all over North Carolina to drive through this little town called McAdenville. And I hadn't really been in McAdenville in a time when I hadn't been in McAdenville outside of Christmas in a long time. And I was there this past weekend and I stopped. I pulled over just to take a picture of the post office there in McAdenville. I was in McAdenville and I was there for a wedding reception, and it kind of had this bluegrass feel, but I felt like I was on a movie set the whole time. I was kind of in this town, and we were in this little church, and the groom sang to his bride, and he used the term redneck in one of these. I think it's kind of a bluegrass song. I can't think of the author's name of the song, but it was honestly, I felt like I was on the set of Sweet Home Alabama. It was so cool and so pretty, and it was just fun. It was sweet. It was real. It was country. And I got to thinking as I was there this past weekend at this little wedding reception, and I thought, you know what? Most of North Carolina is pretty rural. It's country. It's bluegrass. It's supposed to be a front porch community. And it just kind of had that. I hate to say the word Alabama as I'm a diehard North Carolina lover, but that movie, Sweet Home Alabama, my wife loved it, and it just kind of, this whole little town of McAdenville kind of gave me that Sweet Home Alabama vibe. So what clicked my mind to make this video was somebody was asking me particularly about Iron Station, North Carolina. And it just kind of gave me I immediately thought of Pumpkin Center and I thought of McAdenville because Iron Station kind of sits between McAdenville and Pumpkin Center. Here you go. This is Pumpkin Center. This is Iron Station. This is McAdenville. And it's all on that path from Hickory to Charlotte Airport if you were to go that direction down 321. And it's just this rural, non incorporated, these little towns that just have that, sweet home Alabama vibe. Now, I'm sure that there's things about these communities that aren't perfect, but I'll just tell you, it feels like I don't know. It feels like a Hallmark movie, some merge between Sweet Home Alabama and Hallmark, but it's also close to the Charlotte Airport, the Charlotte Douglas Airport. It's changed so much. It is a real airport that will take you everywhere. I don't get that same feel by going to the Hickory Airport. It's a place to fly your private planes in and out of and fly to and from Hickory and to other larger airports. But Charlotte, just an hour away. If I'm going to the airport, I always turn towards Charlotte, not west towards Asheville. So living in Hickory, North Carolina, what's the vibe? Well, it's a place where you can get to the mountains in an hour, you can get to the beach in 3 hours, and you just have that. It's not quite as rural as these other towns that I was talking about, the Morganton, Drexel, Valdese, Hildebran, Eichard towns. It's not as rural as Maiden, Pumpkin Center, Iron Station. It's not as rural as those areas, but Hickory is like a small city that sits between Charlotte and Asheville, and it's just got the right vibe in my mind. And you say, Josh, why are you talking about all these other places? Well, because people call me and they ask me, tell me about Iron Station, tell me about Pumpkin Center, tell me about Morganton. And just kind of wanted to give you an idea of living in Hickory can help you get to all of those places. And Hickory is unique. And I can't wait to answer your questions about any area, anywhere on this map. Thanks.